Okie dokie, let's jump right in. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Grace, can you hear me? I see you on video. Awesome. Um, Please excuse my background noise, doing some laundry tonight. But welcome and good evening, everyone. My name is Chilma Maduko, and I'm super excited to have you all here tonight for the last part of our Real on Real Estate series. I have another member of the board, Richard, on the line. If you'd like to go ahead and just say hello and welcome everyone, introduce yourself. Um,
All right, all right,
go
all
ahead.
right. Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Omani Shoyola. I'm on the programming committee for NAPA. I'm really excited for this event tonight, and I'm really grateful that everyone showed up. This is going to be a good one. This is the conclusion of our series, so hopefully we'll end on a really positive note. Do you want me to go to the icebreaker, or should I just keep it here? Okay, cool. So we're going to have this icebreaker. Let us know, tell us, who are you, what's your story? But then let us know, what's your ideal home renovation project, or what would your dream home look like? So for me, I think one of the dreams I've always had is to have like a really nice basement, and a home that has like a really nice backyard, maybe a pool in the back or a jacuzzi. But a kind of a space where people could come, like watch movies, or like have like host Super Bowl parties, that kind of thing. And a space that's maybe a bit more traditional. I think modern homes they can look a little weird sometimes. I kind of like the more kind of traditional aesthetic. Yeah, that's me. Chioma, would you like to go?
Yeah. So for myself, I would say that I definitely want a home that I would have a lot of fun in. I like a lot of new appliances, so definitely I would look into upgrading my kitchen, my bathrooms. I like the lights. I like the unique furniture. So definitely like a cool spot where I could host people and, uh, whether that's having a pool or some type of nice little common area to host events. I would just love a cute spot where I don't have to go out and pay for somewhere to um, do what I love, which is kind of hosting events and having people over for food and stuff. So yeah, definitely like a nice cozy spot with whatever that could entail. Would anyone else like to go next? Just please feel free to jump right in, take yourself right off mute.
Toma, you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, Crystal. We
Very
hear you.
faintly.
Oh no.
Well, that could just be me, but
I heard her.
Okay, perfect. Well, this is a fun question. I think I am really in love with like the walls that have like framing on it, so it looks like it's like a design on it. So it's like you see like an accent wall, and it's like green or black or even gray, depending on the house, and then it has like those little like designs on it. I think that just screams luxury, and I have money, and I just love that. So my dream home definitely has to have that. And I don't know about my final home, but I really want a home with a rooftop. So with customizing, if it's in the plans, if it's in the architectural plans, you can definitely like design a home with like a rooftop. So for example, like having 3 units and like deconverting it into a single family home, and then the top will be a rooftop. I think that is so cool and
Wow.
I have money. So that's like my design.
I love that.
In the next 5 years, we'll have that rooftop.
Yes.
That's nice.
Thanks.
It's real nice. Does anyone else want to go?
I can share. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Grace Azanapa. I am the Vice President of NAPA. So happy to see all of you here with us tonight for the last part of our real estate series. And for me, I can describe maybe like what a room in my dream home would look like. I am super into wellness of like all types of, in many different ways. So I would love to be able to have like a room in my home dedicated to wellness. So a place where I can do yoga, a place where I can read and write, a place where I can listen to music, a place where I can tend to my plants. I've recently gotten into plants. So, and I'm really into built-ins as well. So like having shelves and like boxes and compartments in the walls for like all my books, all my plants, all the things that like make me happy, and like just basically creating a very customized and personalized sanctuary for me in my own home, where it's just the things that give me joy. So that would probably be a dream project that I would do with like a spare room in a home if I got the chance.
Love it. Would anyone else like to go?
I can go. You guys hear me?
Today, was that you?
Yeah, that's me. Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. So, hi. So my name is Nsude Okekewo. I'm Chama's friend, but I do attend some NAPA events here and there. So yeah. So my dream home, I have like two requirements. I don't know, like in terms of like the whole structure as a whole, but two things that my home must have is a sunroom. I don't know if you guys seen those rooms where it's basically all made of glass windows. And so that's on the top of my list. And then I definitely want to have a bookcase wall in various different rooms, like all over my house, where I just have a bunch of books lining the whole surface of the wall. And so those two things are really big to me. Yeah.
Love it. I could see you've put a lot of thought into that.
Yeah, I did.
Very cool. All right. Does anyone else want to go?
I'll quickly go. I wasn't sure if you all had any more time. I'm Chidinma Okori. I haven't been involved with NAPA for a while, actually, but I just saw this on IG and I decided to just jump on because I'm actually looking into buying a home. My dream home, I haven't put much thought into it, but I love the emphasis on luxury look. I just love that. For me, I think I would love I like the sunroom. I want a sunroom, but I also want the whole house to just let in a lot of sun. Close to a natural body of water. And I think also close to nature, but not too far from people. Not too, like, I don't want those scary isolated houses. I want something that's close to people. So those are some things that I can think of right now for my dream home. So yeah.
Cool.
Beautiful.
I've never heard of a sunroom before, but it sounds like it's a good option to look into.
Yeah. Sounds nice and like a lot of natural sunlight, and seems like a lot of happiness. You can find a lot of happiness in that type of environment within your home.
So my sister just bought a house really quickly. Sorry. She just bought a house, which is where we live now. And I'm trying to convince her to break down the walls of this space that we have that could be a sunroom and just create that glass space. Because I did put a couch in there and we just go there to chill, read a book. And it would be so cool if we just had the glass kind of walls. And you just absorbed all the sun you can.
Lovely. Well, thank you for sharing. And if anyone else would like to go, please speak now, or we'll just kind of jump right in and get started with things. I'm not sure how to spotlight or zoom into myself. So if anyone else would like to like kind of help me out there with the technical back end stuff, please do. But welcome everyone. And thank you all so much for spending your Thursday, the last Thursday of April. Where has time gone? It just kind of really flew this month. Well, the whole year has been flying by, but we are grateful and just lucky to all be here tonight, and just happy it's Friday. again, my name is Chioma Maduko, and I am the president of NAPA this year. It's just nice to say, hopefully we have more people strolling in. I'm sure we will as the night goes on. But for everyone that's here, we are the Nigerian American Professional Association, more commonly known as NAPA. And we aim to empower professionals just like you all in providing a lot of services and activities geared towards professional development, education, career, networking, and so much more. We just hope that you all are able to gain a lot of value out of this event and have gained a lot of value in all of the 2 previous series that we've held each Thursday this month. We hope that you are able to just make the most of the time tonight and ask questions, and just feel free to ask those questions that you may have, and feel free to contact us, anyone on the board, myself, Grace, Richard. We can also be reached at napa@gmail.com with any questions, and Crystal will be sharing her contact information as well. But yeah, to just introduce Crystal, she's my longtime friend. I've known her for a very long time. She's a graduate of UIC. She took her skills into real estate, I think a few years after graduating, I want to say. And her goal has just been to kind of change the narrative and showcase that, a leader doesn't have to be what we commonly think of as real estate agents or landlords. So she's definitely doing that and inspiring us all here in the Chicagoland area. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to have her in our last part of the series tonight. And I will kind of kick it off to Crystal to go over some major points of our last event and cover any lingering questions, if any, and we'll kind of jump right in and get started. And I hope you all enjoy the session tonight.
Hey guys, it's been a long time. Literally, we've been here for 3 weeks. And that's
I
amazing.
didn't sing, Crystal.
Girl, in the shower.
Another talent.
Right.
Look,
What can't you do?
in the shower, I can't sing. But no, it's a long time, you guys. So I'm super duper ecstatic that we made it to this, the last session. And for all the people that have been going strong, thank you. And even if you're new on here and you're like, you know what, I think what she's saying is pretty cool. I definitely want to, go back and hear more. Definitely reach out to Choma, Grace, Richard, and they'll be able to give you the last sessions. But I'm going to go back to Instagram to see, because my brain is not remembering all of the sessions. So yeah, for the first week, we talked about eliminating student loans through homeownership. So currently there is a program right now that everybody can take advantage. It's called the Smart Buy program. And basically the goal is to pay off your student loans through home ownership. So just some quick points. The first thing that they give through this program is they give you up to $5,000 towards your closing costs. And then number 2, they give you $15,000. Oh, excuse me. I retract that. No. So they give you 15% of the purchase price of the home to pay off your student loans. So for example, let's say you buy a 2-flat for $250,000. 15% of that would be $37,500. So in the event that your student loans is $30,000, your student loans will be paid off if you were to buy that condo. In the event that your student loans was $40,000, then you would need to bring about $2,500 to the closing table to completely pay off your loans, because they don't do any partial payments. They need it to be paid off in all. So I think that's amazing. So I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had a client that closed on this, and she had about maybe $30,000 in student loans. She bought a condo, and her student loans are paid off, and now she has her condo, and now she's enjoying it. So that's super duper cool. The second week, we talked about how to live for free. So basically the reason I got into this, or I was even interested in real estate, because I saw a whole bunch of white guys on YouTube talking about living for free. And I was like, what? That's possible. So we talked about how to like live for free. So essentially buying, instead of maybe going the traditional route of maybe buying a single family home like we're all taught to, but maybe purchase a multi-family unit, live in one unit and rent the other three out, or the other two, or the other one out. Or let's say in the event that you have a lot of restrictions on your pre-approval, you can get a single family home, finish the basement, and then maybe you live in the basement and or rent out the top. Or let's say if you buy a condo, maybe just rent out the room. So we're talking about ways to basically live for free, because that money that you'll be paying for where you're living has other uses. It can go into your savings, it can go into other things, right? So if we're kind of or if we have a way to kind of hack the system, then we definitely need to take a part of that. And I'm not just talking about things that I don't know about. I currently do this right now. So I'm currently a landlord. I have a 4-unit. I live in 1 unit. I rent up 3 out. It is a journey. It is a process, but I would definitely say it's worth it and I do not regret it. So that was session 2. So if you guys are interested in any of those 2 sessions, reach out to the exec team and they'll be able to follow up with you if you wanted to listen to those sessions. Specifically, if you want to have, speak to me or have like a strategy session, I do have consultation calls. So those consultation calls, depending on what you need. So like, for example, like I have a 15-minute call. If you have like a quick question you want to speak about, we can hop on a 15-minute call. I'll give you some value. If you're like, Krista, no girl, we need to talk about my situation. We need to create a plan. Like, what do I need to do? Then that would be a consultation call, but you can email me for more information. But yeah, so let me just introduce myself and get into the topic. So if you don't know, my name is Crystal Wakocha. Online, I go as Crystal Adamma. I am a realtor in the Chicagoland area. So anywhere in Illinois, I can service you. Apart from me being a realtor, I'm a landlord and I'm a content creator. So my goal is not only to sell you homes and to put you in put you in your next dream home, but my goal is really to educate you so you're not coming into this pathway how can I say it, like uneducated, like you're going and saying like, yo, I know actually what I'm doing, and also being that shoulder to lean on, because trust me, you will go through a lot of things with owning a house, and you definitely need that support. And I am definitely that for my clients. So, that's who I am and that's what I want to be. But yeah, so that's a little bit about myself. I also created an ebook called 31 Things You Need to Know Before and After Purchasing Your Property. And that ebook was essentially just like year 1 of all the things that I've learned. So all of the mistakes, all the things I wish I would have done better, all the things I wish I could have changed, I literally put in that ebook. It's really compact. I promise you, if I would have did all those things correctly, I would have saved a lot of pressure on my heart, like a lot of stress, and I would have saved multiple $1,000s. So it is very valuable. So definitely check it out at theyounglandlord.com. And before I even before we start the session, another thing which I'm going to be launching next month that I'm super duper ecstatic about is the Young Landlord. So the Young Landlord is a brand that I created because I wanted to, like, my goal is really to change what a landlord looks like. So it could look like me. I have a nose ring. I got some lashes on. My eyebrows are done. I got braids. So I can be a landlord. So I didn't want there to be a definition on what a landlord could be. So I'm literally creating a network that creates content featuring other young landlords. So whether you're Black, you're white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, but I want everybody to be featured in a different light to show that there isn't just one type of landlord. So that's my own shop. So that's my own. So if you're definitely interested in anything that I've said, my name is Crystal. If you can go to my website at www.crystaladamma.com, which is spelled ADAMMA.com. So that's crystaladamma.com, or you can email me at Adamma the Realtor, ADAMMA the Realtor at gmail.com, which I did not put my I didn't put my my email address in there, but I'm gonna type it really quick just so you guys can see it. Adamma the Realtor at gmail.com. So if you need to talk to me, definitely reach out to me and we could definitely schedule you a call. But today is super duper interesting because I'm so excited, guys, about today's conversation. And I think I'm very excited about it because what we're going to be talking about today is not easy. It's not difficult. You just need to have the knowledge. But what the information that I'm going to give you is literally going to change the life course of like your real estate game. Like, it's so important. So please have your notes. Please, this thing is recorded. So maybe reach out to Choma and say, girl, I didn't listen to Crystal. I didn't have my notes. I need to listen again. But like, this is going to be some really good information. And as I go through my topics, please feel free to ask questions. There's no dumb question. Even if I always say this, even if you want to know what 1 + 1 is, I'm gonna say, girl, it's 2. Like, I'm willing to answer those basic questions if you think that they are basic, just so that you can understand what you need to understand for us to go forward, right? So that's my own. So the importance of basically investments and flipping and renovating these properties. So I'm going to share my personal story. So for me, I bought my 4-flat in the suburbs for $240,000, right? So $240,000, 4-unit. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It brings about, let's say, average of 1,000 to 1,100 in rent on average. So that's pretty good. But as a realtor, I was being a little nosy. So I said, let me go into these realtor records and see what they bought this house for and how much they used to renovate it. And as a realtor, I have access to that information. So I was being nosy, and it turns out that they actually bought this, the person who renovated it bought this home for $60,000, and they put $110,000 into it. So what does that mean? That means that they were all in $170,000. And I bought it for $240,000. So let's kind of break that down. So what does that actually mean? That means if I would have did the renovation myself, my mortgage payment would be about $170,000. But since I bought something that was turnkey, that was already done, my mortgage is based off of $240,000. Now, a big question was like, now that I know this information, do I regret doing it the way I did it? And I don't, because I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have that person to lean on. I didn't have anybody to assist me with this. So at that point, I can't regret it because I didn't have the help. But now I'm trying to position myself as your help. I'm trying to position myself as someone that you can lean on. So just keep that in mind. So for example, now if I would have done, excuse me, it's a client calling me, my bad, you guys. So let's say if I would have did the renovations myself, my mortgage would have been based off of $170,000. So what does that mean? My mortgage would be extremely lower. As well as I'll be able to get more cash flow, right? So that's kind of the importance of doing your project or renovating, because not only are you, you know who you're hiring, but you're able to basically see the deal before it gets done and see if it's actually a good deal, right? So, but yeah, does anybody have any questions with that example so far? I just want to make sure that everybody kind of understands the example I just gave.
So you're saying that, or let me ask, are you saying that the property that you purchased it could have been unrenovated, but you purchased it after it had been renovated?
Correct. So I purchased it after some investors renovated the property.
But you had the option to purchase it before they renovated it?
No. So I didn't see so when it was being renovated, I don't think I would have actually had the ability to purchase it. But I'm just using that as an example that, let's say if I was to, when I was ready to purchase, that difference in cost between buying something turnkey versus renovating it yourself.
Okay.
So it's like, people are like, Crystal, like a lot, I get this question like, Crystal, which one is better? Should I renovate it? Should I renovate a property? Or should I buy something that's turnkey or already done? And I'm like, it just depends on your capacity, right? So for example, in 2019, I could not handle a rehab project. I didn't have the knowledge. So the best thing for me was buying something that was turnkey, but I also still won in that situation because like I said in my last seminar with NAPA is that you need to know your numbers. So I was still going to be cash flowing out. The deal was still going to make sense, even though I got it at 240. But wouldn't the deal even be sweeter if I would have got it at 170, right? So I'm just sharing the example. So we're gonna go through all these things today, and some people may still say like, girl, what you said was cute, but I want to buy something turnkey because I don't have the capacity. That's okay. But at least no one can say that I didn't know that information, or I didn't have the resource to do it. You can't say that, you guys, because I'm here. So definitely just give you guys the knowledge. So we can start off with the easiest way to basically get into this renovation, which is basically purchasing using an FHA 203K loan. Now, I love this loan because it makes it so easy for people like us to basically, or first-time home buyers, to basically get into the real estate field and literally start their process. So within this loan, they have an FHA 203K Streamline and FHA 203K standard. So the streamline is if you're spending $30,000 or less. So for example, let's say you love this house. Let's say you love this. And by the way, I'm going to be talking about renovation. So this could either be single family or multi. Don't just assume I'm talking about multi-families. Like this could be single families as well. But let's say you see this home that you really love. You're like, man, I love the location. I love the block. Oh my God, my mom is like 20 minutes away. I just love how it's so close to everything. But you walk in and you're like, well, I mean, this is not bad, but I wish I could paint this color. I wish I can change the cabinets. I wish I can pull up the carpet. I wish I can change the light fixtures. I wish I could just put my little hint into it. So in that scenario, you can use a streamline loan when you're spending less than $30,000. Now that loan, that amount that you use for renovations will be built into your loan. So for example, let's say you're pre-approved for $300,000. You see a home for $200,000. That $30,000 can be put on your loan. So now that means that your loan is $230,000. So that's the streamline loan. And it's basically very easy, very simple, because you're not going to be doing that much work. So now they have the FHA. So number two, they have the FHA 203K standard. They have the FHA 203K standard loan. And essentially that's when you're going to be spending more than $30,000 to renovate your loan, to renovate your home. So for example, let's say if you see a 2-flat and you want to finish the basement, you can use that and finish the basement. You can tear down an old porch, because a lot of Chicago porches aren't up to code. So you can tear down that old porch and build a new porch. Let's say you want to tear down a tree. You can use that money and it's going to be built into your traditional loan. So that's the super duper cool thing about the FHAs, because it allows you to use that traditional lending, but also be factored into your loan, right? So for example, for my example, if I wanted to, do what I'm kind of explaining, I would have just said, hey, loan officer, I want to get a 203K standard loan, essentially, and then and go through it that way by renovating my home. The second thing, or third, I love the FHA 203K loan. I love it so much because usually when you're doing like a normal fix and flip, and we're definitely going to talk about that, usually contractors require that you use your money to start the project. Now, you just spent about maybe $20,000 to $30,000 on closing on this home, depending on what you got. And dependent. So that may be high to some, but it really just depends. It could be lower, it could be higher. But let's say you spent about $20,000, $30,000 putting money down on this home. And you're like, now I want to renovate it. I don't have enough money to start the project because I literally put everything that I had into buying the home, right? But the cool thing about FHA 203K loans is that they have certified 203K contractors that do FHA rehab loans on a daily basis, and that they are very familiar with how it works. So they're able to start the project with their money. And the reason why they're able to start the project with their money versus like another fix and flip is because the contract knows that the bank has the money. They know that if I do this work correctly, I'm definitely going to get paid by the bank, versus not having that certainty with maybe just a person. Like if I hire a contractor to do some work, they don't know if I'm going to pay them. So they need sometimes they need their money up front so that they can buy the material, because they don't want to start the project with their money. But when you're using an FHA 203K, there are contractors that are like, okay, you're a 203K lender. I'm going to start the project because I know this field very well. I know one of my clients, she did an FHA 203K loan, and I'm not trying to brag on myself, but it's really important to work with somebody that's knowledgeable. But she had a family friend that was a contractor, and I said, oh, okay, cool. So I was on the meeting with them, just listening up to what they're planning on doing. And then I text my client, I said, ask him if he's going to start the project with his money. And she's like, oh, that's a good question. I didn't think about asking him. I'm like, okay, just ask him and see what he says. He said, oh no, you would have to put about 30-40% down. And she was like, Chris, I don't have 30-40%. I don't know what to do. I can't. I said, girl, I got you. So I went through my resources, and she was able to, I was able to give her a 203K contractor, and she didn't have to put any of her money to start that project. So that's the super cool thing about the FHA 203K is that they're able to, new lenders, or not new, no, excuse me, new home buyers or first-time home buyers are able to take that opportunity and get into the investment field. I just thought of another reason. You're able to get into the investment field at a lower rate. So I'm going to do some numbers so that we can actually know what this thing means. So let's use my example. So let's say the person bought it for $60,000, right? And they are going to put $110,000 to fix it, right? So that means that they're going to be all in $170,000. So normally what we're seeing is that for investment properties is at a 28%. So 28% of whatever your all in is, you have to bring that to start your project. And before COVID, it was a lot of lenders, I'm trying to think. So a lot of hard money lenders were doing 10%, but after COVID, now we're seeing them at 20%. And then the extra 8% is the 5% for closing costs, 3% for discount points and all that stuff. So I usually just tell my clients, just estimate 28% that you need to bring to the table. So for my example, at $170,000 times 28, that's $47,600. So let's say $48,000 that I would have needed to bring to the table if I went with the hard money lender. And we're going to talk about hard money lenders and the benefits for them because it's definitely beneficial. But $48,000 with a hard money lender, that's what it is, right? But with the 203K, you're putting about 3.5% down, and then let's say an additional maybe $6,000 or $7,000 depending on the deal. So let's do the calculation. So 170 times 0.035, and let's just say an addition. Let's just say 7,000 for closing costs. Let's say 13,000. 12,950. Now that number is completely different than if you were using a hard money loan to basically do the project, right? So you're doing the same type of work as in a first-time home buyer. You're doing the same type of work. You're coming in much lower than if you were to do it with a hard money lender. If this was like, your second, third, or fourth property, and it's basically the contractors are starting the project with their money. So this 203K is heavily slept on, and it's heavily slept on because we don't have the knowledge, but I think it's really a great resource because you just don't see that. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing, to be honest. But does anybody have any questions from the FHA 203K part?
Is it available for the rehab of an apartment that you purchased?
So like condo or multi?
Any of that?
Yeah. So yeah, if a 203K is for if you want to do two flat, 3 flat, 4 flat, condo, single family home, all that.
Okay.
So I know I'm using multifamily as an example, but even to people that are like, you know what, Chris, I don't want to do a multifamily. I think I'm leaning towards single family. You can still do that, but you can also still use a FHA 203K to fix it up, because the benefit is that now that you just added value, you're walking in with equity, right? So like, you don't have to buy that necessarily the best house on the block, because you can buy a house that's like, maybe needs a little bit of updating and use your money and obviously to update it. but obviously have equity coming in or be able to design something to your liking, right? And I always tell my definitely. So I'll get to that. So I always tell my clients that even though what I'm saying is cute and it's fun, I always suggest that we always still run our numbers, right? Because I want to make sure that the work that you're putting in, I want to make sure that you're not over improving an area, right? So on my last call, with you all, I spoke to a person, and he was just telling me about his deal, and I'm nosy, I like to listen. So I'm like, you know what? Tell me about your deal. And he said, yeah, Chris, I'm under contract for, I think he said like, 200 and something thousand. I'm putting maybe 150 in it. And his all in was going to be 400 something thousand. And I said, oh, okay. I said, what's the ARV or the after repair value? And he said, I don't know. And I'm like, you don't know the after repair value? He said, no. I said, did your realtor tell you? He was like, no. And that's why I say, you guys, like, even if you decide, I'm always going to pitch myself because I believe I offer a lot of value. But even in the event that you choose, let's say another realtor, you need to make sure that they're familiar with this process. Because not to say that they're not to say they're bad realtors. No, it's just that, some realtors are more knowledgeable in investing and flipping than other realtors, because you have to learn this stuff. So basically make sure you pick a realtor that's right for you. But after I ran his numbers, because I was just so nosy, because I was like, he doesn't know his numbers. I found out that if he would have renovated the home, he would have been so the max, that house would be worth about, let's say 320, 330, but he would have been all in 400,000. That doesn't make sense. You're in the red. Like, no, I told him it's not a good deal for the amount of work that this building needs. You definitely need to get at a lower rate. That's crazy. You can't do it. And he luckily broke it off with that contract. And I don't know, I follow up. He hasn't followed up with me back on updates on what he decided to do. But at least from what I know, he was able to get out of that bad deal, because that just didn't make sense. So I'm saying this to say that although what I'm saying is cute and it sounds fun, it's possible, we still have to run numbers. Like, numbers are like the number one thing. So my numbers are like, okay, are you going to be in the red after you put all this money in? Or are you going to walk in with equity? Or are you going to be at the market rate, which is okay? Or how much cash flow can you get once you updated it? So right now it's probably rented for $750, but once you give it that nice updated touch, is it going to rent for maybe $1,400 or $1,300, right? So numbers are super duper important. Don't forget that. And then Steve, you mentioned, you said the only disadvantage of FHA is the PMI insurance. Definitely. So basically, since you're putting less than 20% down, the bank requires that you get private mortgage insurance, basically. So is it like it depends, but it is a monthly fee that they add on. But Steve, I would even say if you hack the system. So last week we spoke about living for free. If you hack the system, you're not paying private mortgage insurance, right? So if let's say you buy a condo that's 4 bedrooms and you rent the other 3 bedrooms out, although you may have private mortgage insurance, but your other rooms are paying for that mortgage, right? So I definitely, I appreciate that comment. But we definitely got to hack the system. Does anybody have any questions so far? No? Okay. So now we can get into like the regular investing, or give me one second. Let's see. Property investments. So now let's say,
Sorry, I have a quick question before you jump from that topic. For the renovations, can you talk a little bit more about just commitment, time, resources, what that looks like? I don't know if you've ever experienced it or know someone.
Yeah, so that's a good question on what that process actually looks like. So do you want to talk about it from what I do for my clients, or just in general?
I think from the client's perspective, because I think for me, I've always stayed away from that because it just sounds like too much.
No, I get you.
And I would like, and I've also heard other people's perspective, but I think it'll be great if you could share one of your clients or so, their experience.
Yeah. And So for me, so since I work with investment properties, I have like quite a few resources. So, but I'm gonna say, let's say your best friend is a realtor. And you're saying, well, Crystal's talking this good information, but I still want to go with my best friend. I'm going to tell you how it's going to work with her. That's somebody that may not be familiar with the process. So you would need to definitely go to a lender first and start off and say, well, first, you need to know your strategy. Basically, you need to know what you're going to do. I always tell my clients, we need to pinpoint a strategy on what we need to do, because this market is nothing to play with. Like, I have a client who, I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic, but I have a client who a year ago we were looking for multifamilies, and then a situation happened where we had to stop. And now she started back looking for homes, and she's like, Crystal, I want to do single family. So now we're looking at single families. And then now she was like, Crystal, I think I want to do multifamily. And I'm like, wait, let's go back. Let's create our strategy. And now we're lagging behind, because now we're waiting for that additional pre-approval letter for that multifamily. And there's multifamilies that she's liking and seeing on the market, but because she didn't get her strategy right, we're not able to check it out because we don't have that approval. So all in all, the first thing I need to say is you need to get your strategy down and say, okay, what do I want to do? What can I commit myself to? Am I committing myself to turnkey, or am I committing myself to something that needs a little bit of work, right? So first, create your strategy, because that will save you a lot of time in the future. Once you have your strategy, you communicate that to your lender. Not all lenders, work with FHA 203K loans. So you definitely need to find a lender that's willing to do that for you, right? So once you find that lender that's able to do the FHA 203K loan, then you need to look for the home, right? So once you find the home, you need to work with your realtor to essentially, you need to work with your realtor to essentially run the numbers to make sure if it's a good deal, estimated rental rates, and all that fun stuff. So once your realtor says, yo, this is a great deal, we need to put a contract in, you put a contract in and stuff like that. So with an FHA 203K standard loan, it is, like I said, it's more work than streamline. Standard 203K standard loan, you have to hire a HUD inspector to essentially make sure that the work is getting done to HUD standards. And there's benefits and cons with that, but we're not going to get into that. So basically you need to pay a HUD inspector. So first you need to hire a HUD inspector to do the work. So hopefully your lender can give you a good resource. If they don't give you a good resource, your realtor should be able to give you a resource on who you can call for a HUD inspector. And then they're basically going to inspect the property before you close. They're going to look at your scope of work to make sure that it can actually be done for that price. And then they're going to come in at periods of your rehab processes to ensure that the work is getting done correctly. So you have to hire the HUD inspector, but you're still under contract. So now you closing you're still under contract. So while you're under contract, you also need to find a contractor that's going to be able to do the work. So not just a regular contractor, but a general contractor that's going to be able to do the work. To be able to do the work. And then let's say, okay. Yeah, but you need to find a contractor that's able to do the work. After you do that, then you close on your property and then you start on the work. Depending on the contractor that you choose, but hopefully you guys take heed to what I said, that you use somebody that's very knowledgeable in the 203K process, because if you do, then they would be starting the project with their money. But if you don't, if you forget what we talk about, you're probably going to pick a contractor that you need to put your money in to start the project. And now you're like, oh my God, I don't have that money. What do I need to do? Right. So that's kind of how that process looks like. For me to make it, I really make it really easy for my clients, obviously. So essentially what I do is I give you my preferred lenders who does all this good information, right? So they're able to come in, they're actually the best department in the guaranteed rate, because people come to them for access for their questions and stuff like that. So I give you my specific resource. We get you pre-approved. I'm able to help walk through properties with you. And I'm able to say, okay, I'm looking at the porch on this multifamily unit. This is not going to be up to code. The HUD inspector is definitely going to say something. That's 20,000 right there that you need to take to go fix it. Or these porches going up to these stairs are a little bit wobbly. We definitely need to tear this down and put a new porch. That's 5,000. I see some gaps in the brick. Oh, girl, that needs some tuck pointing. Oh, was it minor tuck pointing? Is it major tuck pointing? Or is there something wrong with the roof? I see that the parapet wall is falling or caving in. Is that a sign that the roof needs work? That needs to be maybe an additional 5,000 to 7,000. So when we're walking through the property, since I do this, I'm able to look and just have my estimated numbers on what this rehab is actually going to cost, right? So I'm not a general contractor. So I always tell my clients, I don't go based on my numbers. I obviously get a general contractor to verify my numbers, but obviously I'm there to kind of give you a reference on how much you'll be spending. So that when we get the general contractor, and if you don't have one, I have resources to be able to give you general contractors that work with FHA loans to start your process. So I'm able, basically basically that's kind of a process, and it is a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it is a lot, but that's why you need to work with somebody who does this, or let me correct my English, who has like experience in this and who works with investors, just because it doesn't have to be so hard, right? Because if we're a team, my job is to make your life easier and to get the job done. So don't stray away from it. I think it's definitely a lot of pros in it, but you definitely need that team. But in terms of time, after you close, you will then be working with the general contractor to ensure that that work gets done. So obviously, if it's a porch, they're just putting up a porch, but then also you would need to pick your finishes, your colors, and all that stuff. So yeah, I think we have some questions. That's true. So Choma said, what is the best way to pick a lender? It seems like they all offer different services. Yeah, that's very true. I think the best way to pick a lender is obviously what is that interest rate looking like? That's obviously very important. But my thing is you definitely need to pick a lender that is willing to go to battle with you, if that makes sense. So I would be lying if I would say that this real estate market is like a walk in the park. Like literally now with all my clients, I feel like I'm literally in war, like literal war, trying to get my clients under contract because the demand is so high, and it's like you have to estimate your competition to get these, like it's really crazy right now, right? So you need a lender that's able to respond quick, work late. Like for example, let's say okay. So before I had this call, I showed one of my clients a property, and he's not working with my preferred lender. But if he was, I would have been like, okay, well, actually, it's another story. But he's not working with my preferred lender, but he picked this lender. So I would normally say like, hey, definitely reach out before we put a contract in. Definitely reach out to your lender and ask like, yo, like, I really like this home. What are the breakdown in numbers? So they need to be able to give you the breakdown in numbers so that you'll be able to see if this property is going to be worth it, right? So for example, let's say you break down the numbers and you find that you need to bring $30,000 to closing. And if you only have 15, it may not be plausible. So instead of us wasting our time, then let's not put it on a contract because we know we can't bring that much money to closing. Or let's say your estimated mortgage is 5,000, but your building only brings in 2. Does that make sense? No, because numbers are important. So definitely want to work with a lender that's able to like provide that service. So if it's like 5 or 6 p.m. and you see a home that you like, is there any way that you can send me a quick breakdown in numbers? Or can you send me like the next business morning? Like, do you work on weekends? So I really do think, finding a lender that is able to like give you those quick responses, because everything helps. Like literally as soon as I get off the phone with you all, I have to do research for a property, write some contracts in, and then 2 of my clients just called me, so they probably want me to write a contract on the same property. So it's just like our work never ends, it continues, but you definitely want to work with somebody who is able to get those contracts in, because this market is no joke. And I'm going to put this out there. It's probably none of your business, but I definitely need to say it, because if I don't say it, I'm not going to do it. But after I write those contracts and do research, I definitely need to go to the gym. So I'm putting it out there so somebody can hold me accountable. So yeah. But yes, and Steve, you said another advantage of the renovation loans is that you roll up to 6 months of payment into the mortgage. So that's good. That's good. So yeah, so is that specifically, okay, let me ask you a question. Are you specifically referencing a traditional loan, or are you referencing hard money loan? If you can respond either through voice or through message. It's like, is he on here?
Yeah, I don't see his profile.
Yeah, I don't see it either. That's so interesting. He must have logged off.
Oh, no, I see him. I see him. I see him.
Oh, Steve, why are you quiet?
He's on the horse in the
Oh, he's on
photo.
the horse. Oh, duh. Well, maybe you can respond. Okay, regular loan. Okay. A regular loan.
It's very noisy. That's why I thought it's noisy.
Oh, no, you're fine. We can hear through the noise. So you're saying that with a traditional lender, you could roll up to 6 months of the loan into the mortgage?
Yes, if you're doing a 3OK loan or a conventional home style loan, yes, we could do up to. So you don't have to make a mortgage payment for about 6 months if you know how to get a good lender. Yes.
Okay. No, so that's dope. That's dope. I knew that for hard money loans, depending on the type of investor you are, but I didn't know that for the traditional lender. So that's also some good information to know, that you can roll your 6 months. But obviously, talk to your lender, see if there's any fees assessed with that. But that's also pretty cool, because while you're doing the construction, you're not living in there, nobody's renting out the building, so you're able to kind of put that into the loan. So that's extremely cool.
Yeah. Win trust and guarantee rate. They offer that service.
Can you repeat that?
Win trust bank and guarantee rate. They offer that service.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, guarantee rate, they're my preferred lenders. But do you like Wintrust?
Well, I use them for big projects. Like 6 units or above, and also I use CIS, downtown Chicago.
Okay. Are they willing to work with small or not experienced investors, meaning like they've worked with, or they invested with people that have 5 or less projects?
They will, but just like the points will be higher,
Definitely.
and the LTV might be about 80 or 75%, or your risks might be higher. So that's the only disadvantage. But
Yeah.
I tell you, it's just like the market is so hard now. So once you could do 1 or 2 projects, you should be okay.
Definitely. Okay. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
and Lima.
I'm sorry.
Have you heard about Lima?
Oh
Lima
yeah,
Capital one.
Lima one is
Lima is
definitely,
good. Yeah, Lima is good.
especially for experienced investors. They're like super cool. But yeah, so thank you for that. Whenever somebody brings up like a new like lender or something, and I think you also wait before I even go on my spiel, you have your own lending company, or I see you put capital at your.
Well, what I do is I do like a brokerage. So what I do is if the bank is charging you let's say 2 points, so I probably had an extra 1 point, so that means 3 points to close the loan. So that's how I get my commission like that.
Okay. So we'll talk a little bit later, because whenever somebody brings up new lenders, I'm always looking for new lenders. So I will definitely, I took a picture, so I'll follow up with you. And if you want to follow up, follow up with me, that would be great, because I have a lot of out-of-state investors that I currently work with. But yeah, so thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
mhm. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or myths? I hope I was able to answer your question, Choma, and I forgot who spoke last, but the other question about what that process looks like. I hope I was able to answer that correctly for you all. Fine, thank you. Perfect. Okay, great. So now we can go into, so let's say you are an entrepreneur and you don't feel like investing in with a traditional lender, or let's say, I don't know, you have 10 or more properties, or I don't know, maybe you're just like, you know what, I think hard money loan is best for me. Then definitely go through the hard money side. So a company that my people usually work with, and Steve said it was Lima One Capital. The thing about them is that you definitely need to have money to play. So traditional lenders, they primarily look at how much your job brings in, or obviously how much assets you have, right? But those hard money lenders, they're looking at like how much money you have. So like some of my coworkers, they have clients that don't have jobs, but they have a big buck in the closet, or basically they have a lot of money in the bank, and they're able to still get pre-approved for these options because of the amount of assets that they have. But if it was a traditional lender, if you don't have a job, go get you a job so that you can get approved for a traditional lender, right? So I think that hard money lenders definitely serve a good purpose, serve a good purpose. So essentially, like you have to have capital. So pre-COVID, you could probably get a deal done like maybe 30,000 because you're bringing 10%, the rates are lower, everything was lower, the materials were lower, meaning that your project was lower, your project renovations was lower. But now in this current market, things are a little bit higher. So that's why I tell my clients, like, look, we need about like $80,000 to get this thing done, because remember, we need to have money for them to close on their project. So they need to have the down payment, all those fees. And then we also need to have money for them to start their project. I mean, it's basically the similar kind of to the FHA loan with like how that process looks, but numbers are extremely important to investors. So whereas an FHA buyer, they may be able to say, you know what, although I would be all in, although I may be all in maybe 90% of like the value. So let's say if the home, after you renovated the home, the house is worth 250, but you put in 230. If you're an FHA buyer, you may say, you know what, even though I only have about $20,000 in equity, that's still dope. I can still live there. This is still a good deal. For an investor, more than likely they wouldn't do it, especially if you're trying to sell it, because they're not going to come out on top. They're going to be in the red once they sell it and pay those additional fees to sell it. So definitely, if you're coming in as an investor specifically, you definitely need to follow the 70% rule. Now, if you don't listen to anything that I say, please write down the 70% rule. So what the 70% rule means is that the after repair value, your all in needs to be 70% of the after repair value. So the acquisition of the property as well as the rehab needs to be 70% of the ARV, or the after repair value. So let's just run some numbers really quick. Let's get my handy dandy calculator out. So let's do my deal. I never actually calculated this. So let's say, well, not my deal, but the people who did this home. So they spent $60,000 and they put $110,000 into this project. So now they're all in $170,000. So for this deal to make sense, we would have to do divided by 0.7. Okay, they hit the 70% rule kind of. So they would need to sell it for $242,000. Let's say $243,000 to meet the 70% rule. So that's kind of what that means. Does that make sense for you guys? If it doesn't, please let me know. If you're like, girl, explain it again, let me know.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying 70% is what they need to make as the resale value? I'm not sure I was even listening, but could you just briefly explain that again?
No, you're fine. So, and even So the 70% is a good rule to have so that you can make sure that you're going to make profit at the back end. But even most lenders, they follow the 70% rule as well. So let me say this. So even if your project does not meet the 70% rule, at least with the loan, with the lenders that I work with, they probably won't even fund that project. So the acquisition and the rehab needs to be 70% of the after repair value, right? So when we're adding value to these homes, we're not adding, so if we're adding value, let's say you put 50 into it, or you buy it for 50, you put 50 into it, now you're all in 100. The market value shouldn't be $100,000. That won't make sense. So even though you bought it for 50, even though what your rehab was 50, the after repair value for an investor shouldn't be 100,000. If you're an investor, it would probably look like you buy it for 50, you renovate it for 50, and now the value is maybe 170 or 180,000. So it's like that acquisition and rehab needs to be, it can't be at the value. It can't be like 100, it can't be 100% of the value. It has to be 70% of the value.
So that you make a profit.
Exactly. So you make a profit, and so that the loan company feels comfortable loaning you the money in case the market kind of goes down in the process of your rehab, because it's going to probably take about, depending on the project, 4 to 7 months to finish. So depending on the project, they want to make sure that, look, if we're loaning you this money, that if this market goes down, we're going to get our coins back. So that's why, at least the lenders that I've seen, they do 70%. I have seen lenders at 65%, but primarily I see 70%.
So is the 30% return typical? It sounds like that might be a bit of an expectation, but I mean, is that like, I guess my question is that if, like, what's the reasonable expectation for the average project? Would it be 30? Would it be 40, 50?
Like on profit?
Yes.
In today's market, I would say 25, 20, 30,000. Really? I would say that because the values are rising, don't get me wrong, but the values on these projects are rising as well. So if somebody wants like okay, so if I'm currently listing a property. Okay, this is a perfect example. So I'm currently listing a property and we're under contract and I'm representing the seller. When we initially put it on the market, we put it for about $40,000 because that's what it was worth. But we had to take it off the market. There was like family drama, stuff like that regarding the house, whatever. And then they finally figured it out. So after I redid the comps about maybe 5 months ago, I listed the house at 80,000. My boss, she came to me, she said, "Girl, you crazy." I said, "Girl, we're gonna get this 80,000. And I mean, it sat on the market for a bit, but we got under our contract for that $80,000, right? So it's like, for example, you see that difference in price, right? So if it would have sold like maybe a year ago, it would have sold for 40-something thousand. Right. But now I was able to get it under contract for $80,000, right? So that's why I explained that story, to explain kind of the profit of why that 25 to maybe 30,000 is a little bit lower. But yeah.
But that was if I'm doing the math right, that's like 100% return. Because you doubled
so I'm not talking on the rehab. I'm not talking on the rehab yet. I'm talking from the perspective of, I put on the market. So you get your profit in when you purchase, right? So your purchase is super, super, super duper important. Like that's where you get your profit, right? So if you purchase it at 40, if a year ago somebody would have purchased it at 40,000, put 100 into it, that means they're all in 140, and the property is going to be worth $200,000 afterwards. So now they have $60,000 in equity. But now,
so equity is like your profit expectation.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Exactly. So it's basically how much you're all in versus the market value. So like, how can I say this? So for example, let's use my scenario. Let's say I'm all in, they purchased the house for 60,000 and they used 110 to fix it up. So now they're all in 170. So they owe $170,000 on this home, but the value is 240. So what is your equity? 30. So 70,000, they have $70,000 worth of equity in the project. So the difference between
That's like 3 times, or?
So that the difference between how much you have on the property versus its worth is your equity.
Okay.
But so Steve says buy from a wholesaler so as it maximizes your profit, not from the MLS. That's a very good perspective. Buy from wholesaler or get off market properties, definitely. But Steve, these wholesalers, they're taking a cute profit. They're taking a cute change from it. So it's still like, even like the host, and maybe I just need to get better wholesaler connects. But even for me, the wholesaler, they're comparable to the MLS. So
yes, you are correct because the market is very hot right now. I'll give you an example. I bought a 3 units from a wholesaler on 57th and May 2 weeks ago. He bought a property for $10,000 in 2015. Typically, with the board of service, should have sold it to me now for about 23,000, but I bought it from him for 80,000. But
is
it's
this a
gonna cost me.
multifamily?
I'm sorry.
Is this a multifamily or a single family?
It's a Greystone 2-story unit on 57th and May.
Okay.
The ARV in the area, actually, 2 houses sold on the same block for 325. It's gonna
With the
cost us
finished
about.
basement?
I'm sorry.
With the finished basement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you, just like you said before, you have your preferred lender and your preferred realtor. If you have a good team, um, you know, you could still buy it from them. So.
Definitely. Man, it's crazy. Like literally, Steve, they're out here working as realtors because it is it's so much. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. So even like having that wholesaler connect, but you have the connect, you got the property, but you're still purchasing it at market rate versus maybe a couple of years ago, it would be at a discounted price than it being on the MLS. So, and even this one property from one of my clients is so funny, but it's not really funny. We saw it on the first day of it being on the market. And I was talking to the listing agent and she said, girl, we had 56 showings in the first day. So 56 showings, the houses was nice. So they definitely got probably more than 20 offers. I saw even somewhere on Facebook, somebody said they had 110 offers on a home. It's like, it's just crazy.
You're right. A friend of mine bought a house in South Shore. The asking price was 140,000, and he offered them 170,000 because it was an English style bungalow. He dumped in about 200,000 into the house, and it sold for 390 about 2 weeks ago.
Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Yeah.
It's and that's what I'm gonna do for another.
South Shore is kind of crazy right now. It's kind of booming crazy.
Look. So I mean, we definitely need to hop on a call because South Shore is definitely booming, and my dad is trying to sell this property that me and my sister are trying to inherit. And I said, look, if you know what's good for you, you're not gonna sell that property. You're gonna keep that property. It's a 3-unit, and they owe about like 50,000 on it. I'm like, nah, you're not selling it. You're not. But no, I get it.
Well, don't say that because they could sell and get maximum money now, and they could enjoy their retirement.
But I'm thinking about the long game. I'm thinking about if it's moving like this, right? So I'm like, look, I'm thinking initially I'm thinking about the long game. So I'm like, if we keep this property now, the values are just going to continue to increase. So if your mortgage is $600 and every tenant is bringing you over $1,000 and you have jobs, like you don't need the money right now. And let's say if you did it, and let's say you wanted to do it, why don't we do the renovations ourselves? And then let's say if we put about 100 into it, so now they're going to be all in 150, 160,000, and sell it for $400,000 in South Shore. We might as well do the renovations. If don't sell it in its current state, fix it up and sell it. But that's my own.
Yes, South Shore is booming. And one thing I would like to, I know most people here are probably just trying to get into the game. I like to advise anybody else, if you want to buy, please buy a 4 unit. It's the same requirement to buy a single family house if you do an FHA, a first time home buyer. It's the same requirement as a 4 unit. Buy a 4 unit, and hey, the building will just pay for itself. And you live there for like 1 year, and you can move out and go somewhere else.
But even so, yes, and I'm glad you said so. That's the most ideal situation, to buy multifamily, buy 4 unit, right? But we have to also be honest and say, in today's market, how many 4 units are there? Like, I haven't seen, I see them rarely, right? But that's a good information to have, that look, you want to buy a 4 unit, but don't just say you want to buy a 4 unit. You also need to have money for that 4 unit, right? So it's like you also need to have reserves for a 4 unit. So if you buy a 2-flat or less, or 2-flat single family home, condo, townhome, you don't need reserves. But when you buy a 4 unit, you need to have reserves. So reserves is not money that you necessarily give to the bank, but reserve is money that the bank wants to see in your account to show that it's there. So I know for me specifically, I had to have about $9,000 in reserves that I didn't give to them, but they wanted to say, like, does she have that money in her account? We just want to ensure that she has it, because if anything happens, So also, if you buy a 4 unit, but also be prepared to have money for that 4 unit. That's my.
That's
I have a
correct. You're right.
question.
What's up?
It's a bit of a silly question. So when we're saying 4 unit, is that translated as 4 units within one flat, or are we talking about flats, like 4 literal units? Or I'm not sure I use the term correctly when talking like 2 unit, 3 unit versus 2-flat, 3-flat. Are those the same thing, or are we talking like 4 rooms in a
No, four
building?
apartments with one pin number.
So
That is
basically,
the
4 living spaces.
property index number.
Okay, so 4 separate levels, 4 separate units, not necessarily 4 separate levels, correct?
Not necessarily.
No. Just went back. Okay,
So essentially, I mean, what he said was dead on, because I initially said in the same building, but you can also have a coach house. So basically, with every property, there's one PIN number, or I guess we can not try to get into specific. Yeah, there's one PIN number. I guess you can say that. So it's basically 4 living quarters on one PIN number. So basically, like, for example, if I can't hear you, it kind of
PIN number. So I mean, that means nothing to me.
So PIN number, basically every house has, it's like a social security number for your home. So basically, yeah. So it's basically, so I guess basically 4 living quarters in one house, right? So whether it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, or whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's basically 4 living spaces on one building, generally. So, yeah.
Got it. So it doesn't have to be levels. It could be all on the same level, but it's all separate. Like everyone has their own kitchen and all that. That's all.
Yeah. So I got a message. That was a great question, and thank you for that. Nobody say your name. Oh my God. I always do that when people send me messages privately, my big mouth just come out and says their name. It's like, Chris, I bet they didn't want their name to be said. But no, thank you for sending that question. They asked, how can you talk about how to start? So that's a great question. And I think we covered this a little bit in our first my first one, but I'll reiterate it because that's definitely important. So how do you start? Basically, you would need to start with making the bank, I guess, well, actually, where you start is your strategy, right? So you need to figure out what do you want to do, because depending on what you want to do depends on how and where you start, right? So for me, in my process in 2015, I got really introduced to multifamilies through house hacking or living for free. So I said, although I am only making $9 an hour right now, but I really want a multifamily unit that's cute inside and that's able to cash flow me some money. So you start with your strategy. You start with your goal. That's number one, where you start. Number two, you start where the bank is going to financially trust you for you to get pre-approved, right? So I know for an FHA loans, they prefer that you have 2 years of work history in like an industry. They are willing to work with you if you have 6 months to a year, depending on how much you make, but preferably 2 years. They want to see that you have a 580 credit score or above. I think for renovations, you have to have a 640 credit score for traditional lenders, but if you're just purchasing a home, it is a 580, at least for guaranteed rate. Also, they want to see that you have money in your bank account, right? So, so a lot of people ask me like, how much do you advise? And as much as you can, TBH, as much as you can. But I probably suggest maybe if you're buying a multifamily, anywhere to be, let's say 15,000. So maybe getting approved at maybe 10 or 11,000, but then being able to save up to 15,000 when you're ready to close. So 10 to 15,000 in savings. And how do you start? Also studying on how to manage the rehab, manage the tenants, because I think a lot of the times we focus in on how to obtain the building, but we don't do enough research on how to maintain the building, right? And we're definitely going to talk about some maintenance things that I've definitely learned, and well, I'll bring up my ebook and all that fun stuff. But really, those are kind of like the main points on where you start. So strategy, getting pre-approved, so your credit, how much money you have saved up, your job history, as well as my goodness, basically learning how to maintain the building once you have it. I think those are where you start. Those are some good points on where to start. Does anybody have any more questions? Is this thing, talk to me, because I love to have conversation. Is this thing making sense? Is it like, are you kind of understanding? Do you have a little bit more questions? Like you guys know my goal is for you guys to really understand it. So in my mind, when we finish this call, I'm thinking all 11 of us or all 10 of us, we learned something, we came in with some new information, and where we know everything now, or at least we know a lot more. So if you're still having a little bit of like uncertainty, please feel free to ask.
Crystal?
What's up?
Well, not for me, but for people that might be online. When you say 15,000, a lot of people, I guess, kill at 15,000. That's a lot of money. But the advantage about real estate is you could have a partner, one or two or three people could do some kind of agreement, put like 5,000 each. You do a project, and once you sell it, you're gonna get your money back. I'm just trying to add to your.
No, that's good, Steve. That's good. You're talking about those JV groups. So what he said was amazing. So that's what a few of my clients come to me, because before pre-pandemic, you can probably get it done 20, 30,000. But now, you probably can, but I know for a fact you can't renovate no multifamily with that money. But yeah, you can, like he said, JV or partner with people where it's like, look, you put in 30, you put in 30, you put in 30. Now we collectively have $90,000 to fund this deal. And that's what one of my other clients did. And that's the reason why we were able to win that bid, because, and it's so funny, I had two clients I had to put in offers for, right? And obviously I can't disclose. So when I put in offers for two clients from the same property, I can't give them my strategic like method, because that will kind of be interfering with both of them. But I try to say, look, remember what I said on this property, remember what I previously taught you before to tell me this number. So basically two of my clients, they put in similar amounts, but one was a financing offer and another was a cash offer. And with that cash offer, they were able to win because they partnered together versus solely dependent on financing. So yes, you can definitely partner together if you're definitely doing, or if you're definitely selling, or even if you're holding, if you want to do that. So that's good to point out. You can work together, but always have your agreements, talk to your lawyers, because business is not a friendly matter. You're my friend, I'm partnering with my family member, my mom and my sister, but I trust their blood. But if they're not blood that you trust, or even if they're blood that's like have an agreement so that everything is documented, because when money comes involved, when money comes into the picture, things change. Perfect. Okay. So I think we can talk a little bit about like the managing of the property or the clients, right? So I think when I was purchasing my property, I didn't know the benefit of an inspection, right? I got an inspection. I read through the inspection report, but because I'm so new, what I was reading, it's not like I was really understanding it. I was just like, oh, okay, okay. So obviously, once you get under contract, you definitely want to look at your inspection report and know like, okay, what is right and what is wrong, right? Because if you don't deal with what is right and what is wrong at that point, once you purchase it, you're definitely going to be dealing with it, right? So that's number one. I would definitely say, obviously, get an inspection report and go through it with your realtor. Your realtor should be knowledgeable. So if me and you are working together, we go to the inspection together. And then the inspection, they send us an email, and then we literally have a call, and that call is an hour usually. And we go through every point, and I make sure that you understand everything that's right and wrong with this building, so that you can make the best decision for you going forward. Because if you're not dealing with it now, you're going to deal with it going after you close. So that's number one. Number two is that you definitely need to have like your transitional setup created. I think I talked about it in the last call, but I'll go through it here. Essentially, I suggest once you close on your building, the first day you're celebrating. You're like, woo, I just closed on my building. I'm happy. Woo. The second day, you're like, yes, I still close. I'm still tenant. I'm still happy. But the third day after you close, you kind of want to start actually like putting stuff into motion. So really having your strategy so that on the third day that you can like hit the ground running. So some things that you can do, like for example, if there's any existing tenants, right, you would definitely need to send out a letter and say, hey, the ABC does not own the property anymore. This is the new owner. Here is the new way to accept rent, and ask them the question about if security deposit was last collected with the previous owner, just because people can get funny, people can lie, and you want to have a documented thing. Just letting them know if security deposit was given, because as you know, security deposit is supposed to be returned. So we need to know if there was security deposit, and if there was, make sure you have it in your own pockets. So that's something that you want to have started up. Also working with contractors, because things are going to happen in your building, things are going to break down. So if a contractor has disappointed you 2 times, do not bring them for the 3rd, 4th, or bigger projects because you trust them. That's definitely, you don't want to do that. Basically, what else? If you are working with a CHA client or somebody that holds a voucher, if they say that your apartment, so even though you listed it for $1,500, but they say that property is, or that apartment can only rent for $1,400, do not form any under the table agreements. Everything that CHA says needs to be true. Follow it to the book, because if you get caught, If something happens, it'll be on your head. And I previously heard that if they hear about any under the ground agreements, that you can't work with CHA anymore. So that's what I've heard. I don't know if there's truth, but that's what somebody told me. So I was like, oh, I do not want to even try it. I want to do stuff by the book. So that's another thing. A big thing is obviously having your I guess your starting five already in place. So meaning like have your electrician that if anything happens with the electricity, you can call, having your plumber, having your cleaning services, having your landscaping. So grass cutting, snow removal, did you guys last winter? I don't know what was happening. It was a lot. And it was so hard to get in contact with some good snow removal. So you definitely want to have your people and form relationships for them. So in the event that something breaks down, you're able to call them in a jiffy and they're able to come, right? So having your starting five, having your players, your team ready, you definitely want to have that before purchasing your house. Because even I think I spoke about this in the last session. I purchased my home September 30th. And then on September 30th, I found out there was a problem. So the same day that I closed, I found out there was a problem. And my mind was like going ballistics because I didn't know a plumber. I didn't have no plumber connects. And who has time for that anxiety when there's ways to prevent it? So if I have my starting five, I'll say, oh, there's a plumbing problem. Oh, let me call my plumber. Hey, plumber, can you come and check this issue out and solve it? Problem solved. No anxiety. So having that's so important to me. But yeah, those are kind of like some of the main tips that I've learned in my first year of owning property. I'm gonna be honest with you. And Steve, I don't know if you experienced this, but at least for me, being a Black, a Nigerian woman, I feel like, people try to treat you differently. So once you purchase your building, there's a type of energy or a type of like, I don't know, like you need to come in like this is a business. Like for me, when I came in, I was like super friendly, like, oh, no, like you need to come in like there's a business and demand that respect, because when people see that they can get over on you, they would definitely try it. So just some little tips from my book. But if you guys are interested in, I do have 31 tips. So if you are interested, please check out theyounglandlord.com, go to shop, and that book is there, and you can purchase it.
Well, I'm so proud of you as a female that you are in the business. I've been doing this since 2001 in Chicago myself. I was very young then. So, but believe me, it's the best thing you could ever do. There's always demand for housing, so it's I hope there's about 10 people on here. I hope everybody will take the challenge. It's believe me, it's very scary, but once you do it, it will be the best thing you ever do for yourself.
I agree.
To prepare your future.
I agree. And the good thing is you're not doing it by yourself. Like you have people and not, but like obviously every time we had a call, there was somebody on the call that have done this before, right? So even if you don't feel comfortable coming to me, but let's say Steve, and maybe you saw him at a meeting or something or an event, reach out to him and he's been given some great tips and tools. Or if you want to come to me, you could definitely work with me and we could definitely get you this home. So you don't have to do it by yourself. So yes, you're still going to go through things. Yes, things are going to happen. Yes, it's going to be hard. But shoot, being broke is hard too. Like everything is hard. Everything is hard on this earth. And the fact that I need to go work out so that I can look good on these pictures but I still have 3 contracts that I need to write and three clients just called me. This is going to be hard, but everything is hard. Like everything is hard, so the fact that you have people that you can team up with and help you, please take advantage of it. But yeah. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, myths, want to talk about what they learned, anything they want to feel like, discussing?
And, I just want to add something to people that are listening on here. Because, at the end of the day, the biggest challenge for most people is finance. Finance, I'll tell you something. Let your money work for you. If you have a job, you have a 401k, you could borrow from your 401k and buy a house. You know, um, People taught me how to get into the business, but now I have a leverage. I could have, walk into the bank and do a deal of like, 5, 3, 4, 5 million. But I started from somewhere because I was educated and I was well informed. Some people are scared. Oh, I don't have 10,000. I don't have 5,000. If you have a 401k or a 401k or retirement account, you take the risk and invest in real estate.
Definitely. And Steve, I would even say, even if you go to the 401k and you say, "Hi, there's only 2,000 in there. There's nothing there." I think in society we also need to know that things are not just going to be ready when you think you're ready, right? So there's a strategy to this. There's a journey to this, right? So now that you have this information, now you know how to strategically plan and make it work for you. Like, for example, in my story, I learned about all this, well, at least hacking your living space, so living for free. I learned about that in 2015 when I was only making $9 and I had $0 in my account. But it was from that period of me learning, me listening to more conversation or listen to podcasts, reading books, talking to people in the business, that I was able to gather more information. And now I'm a realtor, and it's like I'm able to share all the information from 2015, and I was able to purchase my own, so it doesn't have to be a now, but now that you have the information, don't let that information go to waste. And especially don't let the people that you can connect with and grow and essentially help your I don't know, your goals. Don't let us just, I don't know, just use us, essentially what I'm trying to say.
Correct. And I I'm meeting Krista for the first time, and I think everybody should buy a book because honestly, she reminds me of, like I said, in '01 when I first got into this business. People tell you, at 2 in the morning, let me teach you how to become a real estate agent, but you gotta buy my book for $40 or blah blah blah. Yeah, no. Nowadays, if you attend like groups like this, if you're not scared, as a matter of fact, if you are on this line, you have taken the first step because you are interested in building wealth. You just gotta take that step, fix your finances, plan, blah blah blah. And you could do it.
Shout out, yeah, definitely plug the ebook. Get the ebook, 31 Things You Need to Know Before and After Purchasing Your First Property. Literally everything that I learned in a year, in 1 year of me doing this. And it was just, my first year was hard because I didn't have anybody that I could lean on. I didn't have anybody that I can ask. I was literally going through this by myself, I felt like. So now you guys don't have that excuse, and you shouldn't feel that way because I'm here. I make myself available in multiple ways through the ebook, through my consultation calls, through my 15-minute calls. Please go, just don't do this by yourself. Use us. But yeah, if anybody doesn't have any questions, Grace or Choma, you could take it on, wrap up.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. That was so insightful and so helpful. Please do visit younglandlord.com and also reach out to Crystal. Her contact information, I believe, is in the chat in several locations. Adamma, the realtor at gmail.com. We also have Steve that entered in. Steve, you'd like to send your email as well to napa@gmail.com. We could stay in contact with you. Yeah, we want you all to stay in contact with us at all our social channels, NAPA Chicago on Instagram, Facebook. Don't think we're on Twitter, but we do have a YouTube channel. I think we're the Nigerian American Professional Association, but hopefully you all are on Instagram. We have a link tree that kind of point you and can direct you to a whole bunch of resources that we have available for you all. In addition to our membership, we hope to see you all join us and just join in on our network and get involved in work that we're doing. We do hope to offer a couple membership only events in the near future. So we'd love to see a lot of you there with us this upcoming summer and the next few months here. But yeah, today was very informative, and this is definitely a session like the other two that I will be going back to watch and get it in my head again, get these principles ingrained. Crystal and I will be chatting very soon as well. I'm very excited to start my journey into, well, I've been started my journey, but just kind of doing a lot more research and meeting up with someone like Crystal, someone that is something I really would need to make the extra step and move forward and become an owner of real estate. I think it's one of the greatest investments that you could make, and at such as young people or wherever you are in your life, I think it's definitely well worth it. So yeah, follow up with us on IG, stay connected. We're running a membership special right now as well. We'd love to, as I stated before, have you all join in with us and just stay in contact with our events and our team and all of the impacts that we drive throughout the year. Any questions, comments, wants of collaboration or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us or just hang out. I'll be here till about 9 o'clock. So we got about 15 minutes. And I thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Crystal. This was great.
Thank you all.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.